Welcome, I'm Rose Oatley, and today I have the perfect appetizer for your next Christmas party or just to snack at home. I'm going to show you how to make the pull-apart Christmas tree bread. Let's get started.
To start, you're going to need a sheet pan. You're also going to need some parchment paper. This way you're able to transfer it from your sheet pan to a plate or a board. I'm going to be using some mozzarella cheese sticks, but if you only have the mozzarella pearls, you can go ahead and give those a try. We're going to be cutting these into 1-inch pieces, so if you have a mat like this one, it's got a ruler on top and it works perfect for you to measure. This is so easy and also helps you get the same size every time. You should wind up with 4 to 5 pieces per stick, preferably 5. I like to take just one of my pieces and then continue to cut the rest. I'm cutting 7 sticks right now, but I'll cut more as I go. All right, let's go ahead and set these aside for now. You'll also need some pizza crust. I like getting these Pillsbury cans. Depending on the size of your tree, you're going to need about 2 to 3 of these. To your mat or countertop, you want to add a little bit of flour. You really don't need much. And if you don't have flour, honestly, you don't have to use it. I just like to use a little bit just so that my dough isn't as sticky. Go ahead and just spread it on your mat and then unroll your dough. Then turn it over just so that the other side gets a nice little light coat of flour. To your rolling pin, just add a little bit of flour on it. I like to roll it just so that I get an even rectangle. You're going to need 1.5 to 2-inch squares. So I just kind of ballpark it. I lay one of my cheese sticks on there and just measure and start cutting my strips. Your ideal square is about 2 inches though. You want to try and stay the same size throughout. That way you don't have a bunch of little ones and small ones when you're building your tree. This is going to give me about 7 strips. Then I take my cheese stick and lay it the other way and then just continue to cut my strips to make squares. Some of my squares won't come out as perfect, but if you can get them the exact same size, even better. A lot of people just use the cheese, but I like to add a little more substance. I get these mini pepperonis and kind of almost make them like little pizza bites. Now you're free to use just the cheese, but I'm going to be using these here today. And I usually take just about 2 little ones and then I lay my cheese on top. You gather all your corners together and make them into a ball. You can leave them like that, but I like to take them on my hand and roll them to make a better ball. You want to continue doing this with all of them. Now, as I'm going, I'm also finding out that cutting your cheese sticks 3/4 of an inch is a little better than the 1 inch. The 1 inch will work, but I think 3/4 is a sweet spot. Once all your balls are all rolled out, you want to go preheat your oven to 425 degrees. We're going to start building our tree. Now you can make a small tree or you can make a larger tree. I'm going to show you real quick what a smaller tree would look like versus my larger tree. Starting from one end, I'm going to start making a straight line with my balls. Now you want to make sure that they touch each other, and you also want to make sure that you leave a little bit of room on the bottom for your trunk later. You should have a total of 7 for your first line. For the following lines, you want to start placing a ball in between each ball and then work your way up. When you build it this way, you're going to end up with a smaller tree. I like it bigger, but I wanted to make sure that I showed you an example of what it would look like when you build it like this. This is pretty much what the small tree would look like. Now let's build it a little bigger. For my bigger tree, I just made an outline of my tree. Then I started filling it in inside. However, to make it a little more straight, you can always lay one ball way at the top where you want your tree to start and then just connect the dots from one end to the other. For the bottom, I laid 2 balls in the center and then followed with another second row. By the way, this is a total of 57 balls altogether, which took about 2.5 cans of the Pillsbury dough. Give it one last glance. Make sure that your cheese balls are completely covered. Like this one wasn't completely covered in the dough. You want to make sure they are, otherwise the cheese will just start seeping out. Before we put it in the oven, we want to make some egg wash. You want to crack 1 egg to a small bowl and add 1 teaspoon of water. Then whisk it all together. Then using a brush, you want to brush the egg wash on top. This is going to give you a nice golden color. Place it in the oven for 10 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to chop up a few herbs. I've got some parsley here and then some fresh thyme. Also some fresh rosemary. And you want to grab some fresh basil. I'm out of fresh basil today, so I'm just going to use this dried one. If you don't have fresh, you can use the dry, but of course fresh is always better. All right, now we just want to chop everything up. Here I've got half a stick of butter I'm adding to a small bowl to melt for about 30 seconds in my microwave. Then I mixed some of my thyme and rosemary, so I'm just going to grab a teaspoon of that and add it to my butter. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of parsley in here, 1 teaspoon of my basil, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, 1 teaspoon of grated Parmesan cheese, and you want to salt it to your taste. Then you just want to mix it all together. After 10 minutes, you want to pull your tree out of the oven and start brushing all of this butter and spices on top. Then you want to continue baking it for about 2 more minutes or until done. Once it's out of the oven, you can transfer it to your desired plate or bowl. Here I've got a really pretty Christmas tree plate I found at Kohl's. You can leave the parchment paper as is. I like to trim it to the shape of my tree.
Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, the leaves are so.
To finish it off, I'm just going to top it off with a little more parsley on top. You're going to want to serve this with marinara sauce on the side as a dipping sauce. Don't skip it. Now let's pull apart a piece so I can show you what it looks like. This melts really nicely. Look at that. So good. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and share with friends. Merry Christmas, everyone.
If you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to do so below or hit my little picture on the side. Also, don't forget to hit the little bell to get notified of all of my new videos. And please be sure to check out these links on the side. Share with your friends. Thanks for watching and your support.